Welcome back, everybody. We are in the studio, not the barber, but still Parsha at the barber. And yeah, it is Parshas Emor. Parshas Emor speaks about the Kohanim and a lot of the different things that they're supposed to be doing in the Beis Hamikdash. Talks about Sfiras HaOmer. It talks about how to establish the month and the different dates for the different Yom Tovim, the different holidays. Welcome back, everybody. Please, please like, subscribe. Please smash the like button, subscribe. It allows for this to be pushed out further, for there to be more reach, and in turn, when the ball rolls like that, we can have more quality content. And we want to bring you some serious content. There's much more the Parsha speaks about, but I'm just going to focus on a few things. Number one. So in the Parsha it says, these are the times or holidays of Hashem. This is talking about establishing the holidays in the Beis Din, right? Based on when the moon appears. Nowadays we have a calendar, but based on when the moon appears, that was when witnesses would come to Beis Din, and then they would establish what we know when everything is. Now, in this parsha, it repeats it, even though it was mentioned before, because it is talking about specifically a leap year. And there's a few reasons why a leap year should have been established. Number one is because, let's say, we know in the time when the Yidden, the Jewish people, would go up to Yerushalayim, they would have to travel sometimes from very far. And when they would travel, sometimes they'd start traveling, and then in the middle something would happen. Let's say there would be bad weather, or some incident would happen where now they're stuck and the roads aren't fixed, and now they can't make it. And so establishing a leap year would make it that if, let's say, they started their travel to Yerushalayim in order to reach there before Pesach, they have an entire extra month to make it. And number two is also because Pesach has to happen b'Chodesh Aviv, in the springtime. And if, let's say, they realize that the first day of Pesach falls, let's say, a day short, even a day short of being in the spring, and only the second day of Pesach, which is Tezayin Nisan, is the beginning of the spring. So then, what are you going to do? And so they would make an extra month, a leap year, and that way you would always fall out in the springtime. Now, I brought this mainly because there's something very interesting I read in the Me'am Loyas about the process of how it would be done. It's very interesting. I think it's fascinating. Basically, they would come to the Sanhedrin, and the time when they had the Sanhedrin, when they decided it was time to establish the leap year, there was a certain formation that the Sanhedrin was set up in. It was a half circle. The Rambam describes it very, very nicely. And their eyes, it describes it in detail, and their eyes were downcast. They were standing, all in their places. Everyone had a designated spot. Their hands were raised heavenward, and the Rosh HaYeshiva, that's what it was called, the head of, the leader of them all would say, he would call it in Hashem's name, the Shem HaMaferash, a name that's only uttered in very rare occasions. And they would proclaim that it was a leap year, and it says, if the generation was worthy, so then a baskal would come out, a heavenly voice would come out and say, Eila Medei Hashem Mikroi Kodesh Asher Tikro Yismei Adam. And basically what that's saying is, Hashem is agreeing and saying, yes, this is, however it was established in the Jewish court, on earth, that's how it's going to be for the whole world in the heavenly realms as well. And it also says regarding Tishrei, and this is very, very beautiful actually, one of the things we say in Kiddush on Rosh Hashanah, right? Tiku b'chedesh shefer b'kesel yom chagenu. That's the first pasuk, and then the second pasuk is Ki choik li Yisrael hu mishpat l'kei Yaakov. It says first, this is the law for Yisrael, for the Jewish people, for Israel. Mishpat l'kei Yaakov, which is the, and that is what judges the judgment for Elokei Yaakov, for the God of Yaakov, the God of Jacob. And it says that when the Sanhedrin, when the Beis Din establishes when Tishrei is going to be, so that establishes when Rosh Hashanah is going to be, when the Day of Judgment is going to be. And so it says, once the Beis Din on earth decides when, establishes when Rosh Hashanah is, so then Hashem sits in His heavenly court and he tells all the malachim, all the angels, okay, this is what was said in the Beis Din, in the Sanhedrin, on earth, and that is how we will establish it as well. And that explains that is a deeper explanation of the pasuk saying that whatever is established, Yisrael, right, Yisrael, whatever that is, that will be the mishpat l'kei Yaakov. That will be the judgment in heaven by Hashem. I thought that was very beautiful. Now, just another thing about this pasuk about Eila Mayad Hashem Mikra Kiddush Asher Tikru Esmei Adam, which is in this week's parsha. There's a story about a certain non-Jew who wanted to kind of stump Rabbi Akiva. And he asks Rabbi Akiva, he says, you guys spend all this time, effort, and money on your holidays. And what does it say in the scriptures? Right? You have missionaries these days who also try to stump Jews with the scriptures. Utter nonsense. And it says that Chodshechem u'mayadechem Sona nafshi, I think. Yes, sona nafshi. My soul hates. In other words, like it's a very very harsh way of saying a harsh rejection. So this non-Jew asks Rabbi Akiva, you guys have all these holidays and God rejects it. And so Rabbi Akiva says, no. You got it all wrong. If it would have said Chodesh Umoyed, that in general the month and the holidays, Son and Avshi I hate, so then you'd be right. But Chachechem Oedechem is saying your months and set times. That's talking about a specific time. It's talking about Yeravam ben Nevat, who was the king for a part of the Jewish people when two kingdoms split. It used to be just the kingdom of Yehuda, and then it split between Yehuda and Yisrael. And Yeravam, he was scared that since the Jews go to the Beis Hamikdash 3 times a year, and the Beis Hamikdash was in the kingdom of Yehuda, that the Jews would be like, hey, look, the Beis Hamikdash is here. Why are we following a king who doesn't even have jurisdiction in the Beis Hamikdash? And so he says, we're going to have to stop them, and he created idols in 2 different places, and he told the Jews in his kingdom that you don't have to go to Yerushalayim anymore. You could go here. You could serve these. It was idols that were in the forms of calves, and he basically caused many Jews to serve idols. And so he established Sukkot not in the month of Tishrei but in the month of Cheshvan. And so Rabbi Akiva said that is what this pasuk is talking about. That when Yeravam ben Nevat decided to make his own rules, he established Sukkot in the wrong month, and he established service to not to God but to idols. So that's what God detests. But when it comes to our holidays, which we're supposed to do, and what the Torah says, there it says, Eila Meidei Hashem Mikra Kodesh. These are the set times of Hashem Mikra Kodesh, which are holy. So, of course, just like all cases of missionaries and people who try to use our own book to disprove what we do, there's always a very simple answer, and they always look like fools. And they still try to do it. And Baruch Hashem, we have people who know exactly what answers to give, and to show them just how silly and frankly stupid they are for even trying. anyways, I just wanted to, I thought that was some interesting information. Now, it talks about Sfiras Emor, which is actually what we're doing right now, right? So we're middle of Sfiras Emor, and this week's parsha talks about Sfiras Emor, counting the Emor. So there's different reasons for Sfiras Emor. Obviously, the main thing is that, right, the Torah says you count from the time of the offering of the Omer, which was on Pesach. So you count 49 days, and that's when Shavuos is. Now, there's a medrash that explains. So first of all, Rashi says that because in the pasuk it says Tamimes Tiyena, you're supposed to count 50 complete days. So Rashi says Maschil Umayna Mi Ba'erev, that you start to count from the evening, and we know this, right? We count at night. The bracha is made at night, and that's what's done. But the question, this is from the Rebbe, the question arises is that in the Medrash it says that one of the reasons for Sfiras Emor was because the Jews started to count the days until they were going to receive the Torah. And this is sort of a commemoration of that, where we're recounting. We're doing it again and showing our anticipation for the giving of the Torah, which is on Shavuos. So, when does this counting start? From Tes Zayin Nisan at night. At night. So this means that we're commemorating what they did. So the question is, why did the Jews only count from the night, from Tes Zayin Nisan at night? Why didn't they count from the daytime? Meaning they left on Tes Vav Nisan, and they left the middle of the day. Why wasn't that the first day of counting? Why was the first day of counting that night, which is what prompts the Torah to say Tamimes Tiyena, there should be complete, which starts from the night? Shouldn't the counting begin from the first day? Shouldn't the Jews have started from the moment they left Mitzrayim? And so the answer is, it's an interesting answer, is that the Jewish people, they covered a miraculous amount of ground in one day. I think it's brought down that it was like 120 mil, which is a very, very long way to cover in one day when you're walking with so many people, and they covered all that time. So they figured, and they were told that Moshe was told that when he takes the Jews out of Mitzrayim, they're going to go receive the Torah. So the Jews thought, oh look, we're moving so quickly, we're going to reach the mountain and we're going to receive the Torah today. But then night came, and the Jewish people saw that they didn't get the Torah. So then they asked Moshe, hey, one second, what's going on here? We thought we're going to be getting the Torah today. And then only then did they find out that it's only going to be in another 49 days. 50 days from then. And so then that's when they started counting. And we commemorate the same thing where we start counting from when the Jews started counting. Anyway, it's a beautiful answer. Now, I just want to mention, I'm hoping in the future to also include something from Pirkei Avos, because now, since after Pesach, we started, and all throughout the summer, we started saying Pirkei Avos, which teach us many beautiful things about how a Jew should live in this world, and just how to be an upright human being. And this week I didn't prepare anything, but I'm hoping in the future weeks to also include something from there. But I want to include something for the Haftarahs. The Haftarahs are beautiful, beautiful parts of Tanakh, and I think it's not spoken about enough. So it talks about the service in the Beis Hamikdash, just like our Parsha does. But there's something really interesting, which is it mentions that the descendants, the Kohanim, who are from the family of Tzaddik, they will be the ones who are going to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of commentary on this about exactly, who's going to be able to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. Obviously, all Kohanim will be able to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. The question is, what will be the service of all the Kohanim? And I have not looked into it, so I'm not going to pretend to know all the answers about that. But I just wanted to just go into the history. I thought it was very interesting. I read it in the. I want to recommend people. I'm not being paid by the Midrash says. I just want to show everybody right here. This is the weekly Haftarah. It gives a lot of insight into the Parsha, into the Haftarah rather, and it gives a lot of insight into the Haftarah. It sort of goes down who Tzaddik was and who the descendants are, which actually goes. I had a question on it, but there was an answer that I want to share. The question and the answer, and I'm not 100% sure, but it seems that I'm correct. We're going to talk about who Tzaddik, the Kohen Gadol, was. So the first Kohen Gadol was Aaron HaKohen, right? Moshe Rabbeinu's brother, and then after that was his son Elazar. And now Aaron HaKohen had two sons, Elazar and Isamar, but it was after Aaron it was Elazar, and then after Elazar was Pinchas, who was Elazar's son. Now Pinchas lived very, very long. He outlived many, many leaders, and he lived a very, very long time. But eventually, because he didn't give the proper rebuke, and he didn't, Hashem, because he was a tzaddik, obviously, judged Pinchas because he had not given the proper reproach to the Jewish people for them to, return from their ways, from whatever it was that they, whatever it was they were doing that was deviant from Hashem's ways. And so the Kahuna Gedola was transferred to Eli, who was a descendant of Isamar, Elazar's brother. Right? So now it's until Pinchas, right? Pinchas was Elazar's son. His uncle was Isamar, and Isamar's descendant Eli now becomes Kohen Gadol. But then Eli's sons, Chafni and Pinchas, they acted in a way in the Beis Hamikdash which was incorrect, and so Hashem promised that it would eventually no longer be from his family, and that happened at the times of Shlomo HaMelech, where Shlomo HaMelech, the Kohen Gadol, was until then Evyasar, who was from the family of Isamar, and Tzaddik was he was a descendant of Pinchas, and so it went back to the family of Pinchas. And so in this Haftarah, Hashem is saying that it's going to be from the family of Tzaddik. Now, who was Tzaddik's family? We, unfortunately, later on in the history of the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, when the Jews were there, there are a lot of wicked kings who serve idols, and a lot of times they were the ones who had power to really make it hard for the Kohanim to serve Hashem. They had their own priests who would serve idols, and they would, with their corruption, they would actually make it very hard for Kohanim to serve in the Beis Hamikdash, to the point where they were very poor, and because they had so much of the Yidden in their control, whoever was going to the Beis Hamikdash, and whichever Kohanim, because they wanted to serve Hashem, moved to the Beis Hamikdash, there wasn't enough because they lived off of the gifts of the Jewish people, right? So there wasn't enough to go around, and so a lot of people were under a lot of pressure to serve idols, because a lot of the wicked kings, would withhold and would even starve these Kohanim, and if they served idols, then they would be rewarded. Kind of sounds like what happens today in politics and how they cancel people and all that. But anyway, well, I'm not getting into politics, but very, very sad situation. And the family of Tzaddik, the descendants, the Kohanim who were descendants of the family of Tzaddik, they remained steadfast. They never gave in, and many gave their lives even in order to cleave to Hashem and not to veer off, not to serve idol worship, and that went all the way until the Chashmonaim. So Matisyahu and his sons, all the way until the end of the Hasmonean dynasty, the end of the Chashmonaim, those were all descendants of Tzaddik. So now, my question was, we know that the entire Chashmonai family was extinguished, unfortunately. So the Radak explains, Rabbi David Kimchi, he explains that this is talking about a time after Tchias HaMesim, after the revival of the dead, after Hashem will bring back all of the Jewish people from all the generations. So then, it's talking about then. So then there's no question, because the family members of Kehanim from the family of Tzaddik will be alive again, and therefore it's not a question. Now, again, I had this question in the weekly Haftarah from the Midrash Says series. It was a star next to one of the paragraphs, and it goes and explains it's talking about after Ches HaMesim. It didn't ask this question explicitly and answer it explicitly. It just said that this is talking about after Ches HaMesim. So my guess is that this is the why it was necessary for the Radak to say this is because of this question, because it's a known thing that the Chashmonaim were all extinguished, unfortunately. So may we see those days. Now we know we need it. The Jewish people really need it. Going through really hard times. I want to say, I normally try to say this in the beginning, but all of the learning, all the Torah that's happening, and all the good that comes out of this should be dedicated to the soldiers. May they have a miraculous victory, which will, like it says, Yeshuas Hashem Karef Ayin, Hashem's salvation can come like the beat of an eyelash, and we've lost too many already, and we should have our family come home. It should be a real salvation for Am Yisrael. Mashiach should come now. As always, we hope you found this informative and entertaining. Please go ahead and learn more and more. There's so many books. There's so much information online and everywhere. Chabad.org or wherever else you get your dose of Torah. Please go ahead and learn and share. Maybe share something in the comments if you have something to contribute. Anything that you saw, anything that you heard, anything that you may have insight into that we don't. Please, please, please. I want to interact with you guys. If you made it to the end, you're an absolute legend. And I just want to say thank you, by the way, guys. We reached 400 subscribers this week. And, some people might say that's not a lot. For me, over 400 people are subscribed here. And that's a little community. And I'm so grateful. And I just want to keep on growing. So share this. If you like this, if you enjoyed this, please share it, like. And, Mashiach now. Good Shabbos. And, until next time. Into the Haftarah, rather. And